What's going on, everybody? What's shaking? What's doing? What's happening? It is 7:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday, September the 19th, 2020. I'm coming to you live from the VoiceMann Studios in Toronto, Canada. And this is episode 104 of McRae Live. I know what you're thinking, Dave. You are doing this on a Saturday. Why? Well, because I didn't do it yesterday. Ordinarily, my McRae Live shows are every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday mornings at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yesterday, I could not do the show because of Billy stuff. Yes, we're deep into pre-production on Billy, and something came up last minute, and as a good producer does, has to attend to it. Nothing bad, just myself and Bruce had to get on the phone and hash some things out as one producer talking to another, and we needed to do that. So the conversation ended up being about 2 hours. We were talking about several different things, so that needed to take place. Also, just to let you guys know, I will make this announcement officially tomorrow at some point, maybe later tonight, but probably tomorrow. There will not be a Two Dudes and Some Bullshit this Monday night. There will not be a Two Dudes and Some Bullshit this Monday night. Why? Well, because of the pre-production of It's Me, Billy. Myself and Bruce and our DP, Greg Bennett, are finishing off our meeting that we started last week, going over the shot list, and we need to do that. So that's happening on Monday night. So, yes, there will be no Two Dudes this Monday. We will have to push it to the following Monday, just to let you guys know. But again, I'll make the announcement tomorrow. But these things happen. When you're deep into pre-production on a movie, especially how we're handling this, there's lots of meetings that pop up. The intensity has gotten more intense. We've gotten busier because we've been officially greenlit, thanks to you guys. So now it's like, we're assembling all the crew. We're getting, any last minute props together and details. We're having meetings and we're talking equipment. We're talking, we need this, we need that. It's very intense. It's the good kind of intense, but it's very intense. Anyway, this is episode 104 of McRae Live. And today I want to talk about, the question is, are deleted or additional scenes being scenes that, like Halloween, where they shot additional footage. They never shot them to begin with, so they're not technically deleted scenes. They are additional footage that was not there. Is it officially canon? And I've actually been meaning to talk about this for a little bit. I've touched on it from time to time. But who was it now? Why is this name escaping me? Somebody today on my Many Things Dave McRae Facebook page. Oh yeah, Julian Salgado. That's it. He was like, hey, let's discuss deleted scenes. Are they canon? And I was like, oh, you know what? That's a really good idea. Now, this is not a doorway that I take requests. It's just that he mentioned something that I've been meaning to do a show on. I'm like, yeah, because I was going to do an all Q&A. But I thought, no, you know what? Let's do that because I've been meaning to do that. So I just don't want people to get the wrong impression that now it's like, Dave's taking requests. Let's all fly. No, I'm not taking requests. And it's nothing personal. It's just if I start doing it, then I set a certain level of expectation, which I don't want to do. So anyway, so yeah, let's do that. Let's talk about deleted and additional scenes or alternate scenes. Of course, that's a bit different than additional. That's more in line with deleted. And are they canon? Now, there are many movies we can point to that tell us or that have deleted scenes or more deleted scenes than additional footage for whatever reason. I have always been of the mindset that deleted scenes are not canon. Now, it's not as black and white as I thought it was, especially today's day and age. Deleted scenes are nothing new. The expression or the saying, the cutting room floor, is a very real thing. I mean, years ago, for those of you that may have grown up in the digital era, they literally used to cut film. I mean, actually take a sharp blade and cut the film and then piece it together. That's what I did that in college. Now, Well, yeah, I mean, the digital age of movies was just starting to come in when I was in college. We were still shooting on film. There was a couple of short films I shot in college on 16 millimeter. When I say that, that's what I mean. And we used an old Steinbeck to cut our films. And we were literally, we had the film, the reels on the spools, and we were, feeding it through the proper channels. And if there was a scene I wanted to take out, I would literally go in. I'd have a little blade about that big, and I would cut it, and then I would tape it together, and away you go. And then that part that I cut, we would drop on the floor. Editing bays and editing rooms, they're still called this today, although not so much anymore, because obviously we don't literally cut things anymore. But they were known as the cutting room. Years and years ago, that's what they called them, the cutting room, because that's what you did. You literally cut film. You would slice, you would cut it, and you would take a portion of the film out, and you would drop it on the floor, and you would leave it there, and then you'd clean it up afterwards. Or maybe if you were really with it, you'd have a trash can beside you. I don't know. So deleted scenes are nothing new. I mean, there have been many scenes and portions of films and things like that have been literally cut out of the movie for decades. But of course, we live in a different world now, and it's the digital age, and it has been for quite some time, and it's the internet, and we have information at our fingertips and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, years ago, and again, I'm not, I'm only 41, but still, I remember a time when that wasn't how it was. And certainly, if you're older than me, if you're in your 60s, I mean, people didn't care about that kind of stuff. You didn't know things were left out because you weren't privy to that information, right? You weren't privy to that information. You didn't know things were left out. You had no idea that scenes were cut, or that there may have been, a couple of scenes that didn't make it into the final product because they were literally cut out. You wouldn't have been privy to that information, and you didn't care to know. You just were watching the movie as is, the theatrical cut. There it is. It's being presented to me. That's the movie. I walk away, and that's it. I had no idea there were things. I mean, if you're smart and you're intelligent, obviously you knew that does happen, but it's not like you cared about it. But today's world, people are they're very into that. And the digital world allows for more opportunities to film things and remove things from movies because it's a lot easier to do now. It's a lot easier to do. It's a lot easier and cheaper to go out and do reshoots than it's ever been before. Shooting on film is incredibly expensive because I believe you pay by the foot, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it changed, although not that everybody's shooting on film anymore. But anyway, when I was in college, we had to buy our own film, and we paid by the foot. Anyway, so deleted scenes are a very big thing today. And people love watching deleted scenes. And it really sprung on, it's been around for a while, but it really sprung onto and into the mainstream because of DVDs. And they used to pack deleted scenes, sometimes, not all the time, but they would include deleted scenes on DVDs as part of the special features. And again, it's not that it was completely new at that time, but it started to really pick up speed in and around that time. And then, of course, from DVD to Blu-ray and to 4K. And a lot of people love watching deleted scenes. They love watching those scenes. But the question is it canon? Is it part of the narrative in terms of, is it official? Well, I've always been of the mindset, well, the obvious answer is no, because the original, they may have shot that, but it didn't make it into the final cut. So it wasn't presented. It's not there. It ceases to exist. They're not presenting deleted scenes to you, presenting them to you as canon. They're presenting them to you as little anecdotal, just cool little things to pack special features on. Hey, isn't this kind of neat for all you sweaty, hardcore fucking movie nerds out there? That's cool, isn't it? Wow, that's neat. And sometimes you would watch deleted scenes and go, why the fuck did they leave that out? Man, they should have included that. Oh, dude, they should have had that. That's amazing. We see that all the time. But I don't consider it canon if it wasn't originally presented to me as fact. You know, it's not like when John Carpenter shot additional scenes for the TV version of Halloween, that those additional scenes wound up in every single copy of Halloween from there on in. Now, you could at one point, I don't know if you can get it on, I don't know if you could get it on DVD. Maybe you could. I don't think you can get it on Blu-ray. I do know that they did release the TV version of Halloween on VHS, because I do have it on VHS. Actually, it might be in there somewhere. I'm not sure. But I do have the TV version on VHS. But it's not like when you buy Halloween, right? That you're all of a sudden now those additional scenes have made it in, because they haven't. I know, like, I think the best way to approach this, because there are some fans that do, well, I consider it canon. It's like, well, I know there's a saying out there that all film is subjective. Well, yes, in the sense of that people can't tell you what to like or what not to like. You like what you like you love who you love. If you fall in love, you can't help on who you fall in love with. It doesn't matter if it doesn't line up with society standards or what is traditional. You love who you love, right? Right? We can't help that. So to a certain degree, film is subjective, yes. But there is also an objective general consensus on what we can point to of what is traditionally thought as good filmmaking, as good characters, as good stories. You can measure that to a degree. And generally speaking, the vast majority of people, not everybody, but the vast majority of people usually agree that when you put all these things together, that's a good movie. And most people agree that that's a good movie. So although it is subjective to a point, there is some objective measuring that can be done to a degree. I think that's important to state that. But I've never been, well, it's canon to me, but it's not okay, but it's not part of the official narrative. It was never meant to be. It wasn't presented to you as that. It was presented to you as just fun little things for the special features. But then there's something called a director's cut. And the director's cut is, generally speaking, what the director's original vision and intention was before the studio interfered. And sometimes directors do have the opportunity to get director's cuts, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes it can be in their contract, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes deleted scenes wind up back in a director's cut. Sometimes deleted scenes are deleted by the director and the editor, and they don't want them in there. And then years go by and they realize, oh, you know what? We should put that in there because actually it does make more sense to have it in there. And then it goes back in there. If you can't, then and only then will I consider that deleted scene canon from a certain point of view. But if it doesn't, I should not have to watch a movie and then it get to a certain point where that deleted scene was, right? And me pause the movie and go, okay, what was that deleted scene? Right. Okay, continue. And then continue on as if the deleted scene was there. If I can't watch the movie with the deleted scene in the movie, and I don't mean somebody doing it on their own, some guy with some editing skills doing their own, cheap little copy on YouTube. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about officially released. Officially released. Like, for example, in The Force Awakens, when Kylo Ren, boards the Millennium Falcon, kind of a cool scene, right? I can understand why they got rid of it, but, it's kind of a cool scene. But I can't watch The Force Awakens in its entirety, the movie with that scene in it. Yes, could I digitally do it myself? Yes, I could, but that is not official. It hasn't been officially released that way. So I don't consider that as far as I'm concerned, he never boarded the Millennium Falcon. Or maybe he did, but, you know, we're not privy to that information. So I just don't, and the primary reason why is because it doesn't make sense to do that or to think that way, because then nothing means anything. Everything can mean anything. You know, we have to have clear, defined lines of what is and isn't canon, what is and isn't acceptable, not just in movies, but, you know, in life, right? Like if everybody can be anything, if everybody's a winner and, you know, it doesn't matter and everybody gets a ribbon, then there are no winners and everything just bleeds together and there's no standards and we're all so happy and lucky. And it's just like, that's not life, man. That's not how it works. And, you know, I mean, and I just feel sort of the same way about deleted scenes. If all deleted scenes are canon, well, I consider them canon. Wow, God. There has to be some sort of objective measuring stick. They can be canon to you, but that doesn't mean there is, it's like art, right? Okay. For example, let's say I draw this, thing, right? I draw, I don't know, I do this, okay? So this is a lens crafter's thing here. Okay, so I draw this, right? See that little thing right there? Pen right there? See that, right? You see that? That little thing right there? Okay, so let's say, you know, it's a piece of art. I add some things to it and all that kind of stuff, and I put it on display. Now, I'm the artist, and there is an intention behind that. There's an intention, and maybe I add a couple things, and I call it sunset. It's a sunset over the Hudson River. You know, that's what I call it. A sunset over the Hudson River, right? I'm the artist. I'm the only fucking one that gets to tell you what it means. It doesn't matter what you think it means. I'm the only one that has the objective ability to present its true meaning. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't look at it and go, well, this is what it means to me. Grandpa's chopsticks under the ironing board. That's what it means to me. It's Grandpa's chopsticks. Okay, if you want to walk away and say that's what you get from it, that's fine. That's fair. I can't take that away from you. But that's not actually what it is. But that's what it is to me. Well, okay, fine. That's what it is to you. But just as long as you know that objectively you are incorrect. That's not actually what it is. It doesn't work that way. It's not abstract art. Abstract art, and it doesn't mean anything. An artist can present something that's abstract, and its intention is for you to just, I mean, the artist might have an idea, but there aren't concrete defined lines. There isn't concrete defined lines with clear, and I'm not talking about actual in the painting defined lines. I just mean in terms of its meaning. There are no concrete defined lines. It's open to interpretation. That's the point of it, right? So you can look at abstract art, and I can think it's a spaceship, and you can think it's a turtleneck, and we're both right because there is no meaning. Even the artist is like, sure, you know, it's abstract, whatever. But when something has a clear definition, a clear intention, and the creator is the only one that can define that. That doesn't mean that people out there can't take their own thing and their own feelings from it. That's okay. But that becomes subjective then. And the artist is the only one that can deliver objectivity. The only one that can do that. And so you can say, well, to me, the things are canon. Yeah, but the artist's intent was to never include them. They're put on the DVD not to say, hey, this is part of the movie now. It's just fun shit. It's just anecdotal. It's just cool stuff, like having trailers and teasers and posters. Here's some deleted scenes. Oh, that's cool. Now, you may wish it was back in the movie, but until there is a director's cut with that fucking scene in it, it ain't canon, man. It ain't canon. You may wish it's canon, but it ain't canon. Well, it's canon to me. Okay, it's canon to you, but that doesn't mean that it officially is. Anyway, it's just these things, like, because there has to be lines. We can't just have no meaning to anything, and it's just everything's everything, and we're all swimming around, doesn't mean anything. No, art, listen, there is abstract art, but there's clearly, there is art with clear defined meanings and intent. And so, that's why the additional scenes of the TV version of Halloween have never ended up in any sort of re-release of the original film, because they're not canon. Is there some great stuff that's in there? Yes. Like, you think you fooled them, haven't you, Michael? But not me. That's a great fucking line. Now, maybe they can pull it out of being non-canon and make it canon. We see that all the time, right? I also don't like this idea of filling in the gaps in books. I hate that. I don't like that at all. I think it's cheap and it's a cop-out and it's chintzy, and Star Wars does it all the time, not just with the sequel trilogy, with everything they fucking do. They do it all the time. And I understand why they do it. I mean, certainly it's because they don't have enough time to, but I hate that kind of thing. I should never, ever have to read a book for a movie to make sense. Ever. If I have to read a book for a movie to make sense, you need to spread that story out over 3 movies. That's what you need to do. That's why episode 9 should have been 2 movies. But it breaks away from the 3-part trilogy. Yes, it does. It does. But whose fault is that? Whose fucking fault is that? That's what you need to do. I should never have to go, I don't get it. Well, Dave, you got to read this fucking 300-page book, and on paragraph 3 in section 5, it specifically says the Palpatine. Fuck that. I don't want to do that, man. This is a movie. That doesn't mean that you can't leave certain things up to interpretation, but I should never have to be left going, and then I have to read a book. That's just not, that's just lame. I don't like that stuff either. So, yes, if people want to consider deleted or alternate scenes canon to them, I can't take that away from you. I can't. But when I think of why scenes are deleted, there's reasons why they're deleted. One can be for pacing. One could be for narrative reasons. That doesn't quite make sense anymore. Actually, you know what? We've repeated ourselves here. It's better presented and executed in this scene as opposed to that scene. We thought we were going to need both scenes, but you know what? We don't anymore. So I think we should axe that scene and just keep that one because it's much stronger over here. There's many reasons why scenes get deleted, usually for time and length and pacing and things like that. And they're presented to you on Blu-rays and DVDs. The intention is not to say, hey, this is canon now. No, it's just fun. It's just fun. It's just special features. It's just, they just thought you'd think it was interesting. They just thought you'd think it was cool. That's all. That's it. No more, no less. However, like I said, in the future, if somebody releases a director's cut, right, and decides to put that back in, well then, hey, cat's out of the bag. If John Carpenter ever released although he had final say really on Halloween, but if Halloween ever gets released officially with the pumpkin on the cover and this, it's Halloween, it's all official direct with all the, okay, all right. But it's not, it's just, it is what it is. It's like Halloween 2 at the end when Jimmy sits up in the back seat, and starts talking to Laurie. That's not officially canon. It's not. Yes, they shot it, but it's not officially canon. The original intent was presented as is, and that's what it is. Now, when you get to the producer's cut, okay, of Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, well, you've got 2. But the producer's cut, I don't consider official. I don't. Now, you might say, well, Dave, it's out there, though. You can get the producer's cut. I understand that. I do understand that. And that's why with Halloween 6, I'm a little more lenient because I do understand that you can, because it has been officially released. Okay. And I do understand that. And that was that's what because there was Trancas involved and there was, there was a lot of too many cooks in the kitchen, as they say. So that's why I'm a little more lenient on that. I do understand why people can watch the producer's cut and consider that officially canon. I think at the end of the day, for me, the reason why I'm just kind of like lukewarm about it, I guess, is because I don't find the producer's cut any better than the theatrical cut. I think the producer's cut gives more context, but it gives more context to an already shitty story. It's not like I've never watched the producer's cut and been like, oh my God, oh, it's an amazing movie now. No, it just, there's a little more Dr. Loomis, you know, but I mean, you know, Michael walks off in a costume and it's silly. It's still ridiculous. But that is an example of something that I can be like, okay, I can accept that. I can accept that is canon, right? I can accept that. Because it was officially released. After much fan outcry, by the way. I mean, if there wasn't any fan outcry, they may not have, you know, released that. Just like Zack Snyder's, you know, Justice League, right? When that comes out next year, looks like it's going to be officially canon, right? Because it's being officially released and fully realized. It's being fully realized by the creators themselves, right? You can't make a little fan edit on YouTube and say it's canon, you know, because it's not. It's not. It's fan fiction. It's like saying it's me, Billy. As much as I would love it's me, Billy, to be canon, and there's probably going to be people that are going to, you know, just in their own minds say it is, I'm going to be the first to say, well, it's not. It's not really. I mean, if you want to consider that, that's fine. But by any objective measure, it's actually not, you know, Blumhouse. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But anyway, so, but it's, for me, it's always been a no. It's always been a hard no, unless there is an official release with alternate scenes or deleted scenes back into the narrative in a linear fashion where I can watch the movie from start to finish with those scenes that were deleted initially. Then to me, I can accept somebody saying that's canon to me. I can accept that because it's been officially released by the studio. You know, and I'm okay, cool. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. But no, the TV version of Halloween is not canon. No, the TV version of Halloween 2 is not canon. Because there is not a, no, I mean, now to be fair, there is a Halloween that, like I said, was released on VHS, which was officially released with the TV version attached, but it was marketed as the TV version. You see, that's the difference. You can't market the movie as the TV version because then it's kind of like a director's cut is okay because a director's cut often speaks to the official vision, the initial vision, the original intent of the creator, of the director of the film. So marketing something as a director's cut, I'm okay with because it speaks to the director more than it does to maybe the studios, you know? And when you release the TV cut of Halloween, which is what they did on VHS, and it was officially released, but it's always marketed as the TV version, you know? And that to me is, there's an asterisk beside it, right? They're preferencing this release. Here's Halloween. Oh, but it's the TV version. And that to me almost feels like, you know, it sort of, yeah. The Smokies here, there's a Halloween extended cut on VHS, extended cut, TV cut, you know, whatever they want to call it. It feels, it doesn't, for me, because they've never, as far as I know, and people can correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I know, they've never released that on Blu-ray or certainly not 4K, and I don't even think they did it on DVD. Now, that doesn't mean that those scenes don't add something to it, and they're really cool. But when you market something as outside of the director's cut, when you market something as, you know, the TV version or the extended version, and it's because of the TV shit, it just feels, it's not canon to me because you have to have that caveat. You know, you have to have that little, like, no, just release as Halloween. And obviously you think, well, they can't do that because there's different things in here. And then we go back to my original point, which is the TV cut is on Blu-ray in the box set. Okay, the TV cut is on Blu-ray in the box set. Good. I don't have the box set because I didn't want to spend money on movies I don't like. It's on the bonus disc. Okay, it's on the bonus disc. Great. So, you know, now in that sense, from a certain point of view, I could understand why somebody might want to consider that canon because it has been officially included. Right? It is officially released in that sense. So in that way, I could understand that. That's an argument then if somebody wanted to make, like if some people in the chat room were like, well, hey, now, hang on a sec, Dave, here. I consider it canon because it's in the special section of this disc on the such and such. Okay, from a certain point of view, I can concede and I can say, okay, I can totally understand that. But something still doesn't sit right with me when it has to be marketed because it's never been on any official release, right? It almost feels like a special feature in and of itself, right? When you have Halloween, you have Halloween 2, you have, all these films, and then on its own disc sort of over here, oh, here's that TV version of that movie. It's almost, it's presented to me in a way that feels like it's an afterthought still, right? It feels like it's an afterthought. But that's me. That's how I sort of feel about that. But again, deleted scenes in general, because there are many, many, many films out there where they don't have alternate versions. They don't have alternate cuts. They don't have, TV versions, certainly today. They don't have, scenes added. They don't even have director's cuts. There are many, 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 many movies out there that you can pop in your DVD player or your Blu-ray and watch deleted scenes. And that's it. That's where you see them. There is no other spot. There is no other version. So for me, they're not canon because they were deleted for a reason. And they're just being presented to you as, just fun, cool shit to see. They're not being marketed to you as, hey, these are officially canon now. That's how I feel about it. And I know some people will disagree, and that's fair. You can disagree with that. But then I think imagining deleted scenes as canon just subjectively just waters everything down, because it comes down to it then that if you're going to include deleted scenes as canon, where's the bar? What's the measuring stick? You only include the deleted scenes you like? Is that all you're doing? Oh, I like that deleted scene, so that's canon. Oh, but I don't like that deleted scene, so that's not canon. What the fuck are we doing here, people? It's either canon or it's not. Not to me. It's like, well, okay, not to you. And so I just don't like to go down that road because I think it's a recipe for disaster because it's not, it either is or it isn't. You can't just say, well, that is, but that's not. Hey, come on. They presented to you these deleted scenes. They're not asking you to select which ones you like and which ones you want as canon. If you truly believe that deleted scenes are canon, then that must mean you truly believe that all deleted scenes are canon. Even the bad ones, even the innocuous ones, the irrelevant ones. So I think it's important to keep that in mind. Because I don't know, I guess it's, for me, I think one of the reasons why this grinds my gears from time to time is because I see it coming from fans who try to fit, like a square peg in a round hole. It's like they don't like the movie or they see a deleted scene which they wish was in the movie. So they just, make it canon to themselves. It's in the movie and now it's a better movie, or something like that. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. It was deleted for a reason. It's gone. You may have wished it was in there, but it's gone. But I know there are people that are watching me right now, who are in the chat room right now, who vehemently, who really disagree with me. And who say, no, these are canon. These are absolute canon. They are part of the narrative. But I just find it so strange, and again, Halloween aside, because, and thank you for bringing it to my attention that there is on the Blu-ray box set, the TV, which makes sense, I guess. The TV version of Halloween is presented, but it's not presented. I mean, again, it's It's like a special feature in and of itself, right? But that's good. So that's something that if somebody wanted to say, well, that's canon, I can say, okay, but then you have to think to yourself, is it an alternate universe? And which one is reality? If we want to play that game and you want to really go down that hole, then we have to say, well, both can't be true, can they? Because if both are true, why is a part of the reality in this version missing from that version? Like if we want to look at this as if it was a real event taking place, why are we watching Halloween without the scene with Linda showing up at Laurie's house? Why are we watching Halloween without the scene with Dr. Loomis in the auditorium with those two other doctors? Is it only true in this reality and it's not true in this reality? Or are you one of those people that goes, oh no, it happened, we just didn't see it in this reality. So if you want to see it, you go over to this reality. And it's just like, seems a little cop-out to me. Seems a little chintzy, If you want to say, hey, here's an alternate reality Halloween where these scenes existed, okay, but then which one is official? Which one's the real reality? Which one is really reality? Right? It's like a movie in and of itself. It's like Inception, right? It's like a dream within a dream. So which one is reality? Which one is the real reality here? Is it Halloween, the TV version, or is it Halloween, the theatrical cut that is basically the one that you can just get? Well, to me, it's the official version that was released in 1978. That to me is real reality. That's how I know I'm not dreaming. You know what I mean? When I see that movie, I go, I'm not dreaming. Because that's the one that is widely and broadly accepted as official. It's the one that is widely and broadly accepted as the official release of the movie. Generally speaking, the vast majority of people will watch that version on Halloween. The vast majority of people. But that's not what I watch. I didn't say that's not what you watch. I say the vast majority of people will watch Halloween. It is broadly accepted in pop culture, in the movie-going sphere as that's the movie. So again, there's some subjectivity there. We can be, well, that's my Halloween. But the only way we can measure art in this sense of the game is to then look to the majority, right? What's the vast majority of people watching? And obviously I haven't taken a poll, but I will go out on a limb, and I don't think it's a very thin limb, to say that I believe the vast majority of people probably watch the original, not the TV version. They may watch that from time to time, but if you're going to pop in Halloween, you probably instinctually just go to Halloween and you pop it in and you watch it. The vast majority of people do that. What's the movie that shows up on television at Halloween time? What's the movie that's going to show up on AMC in a couple of weeks? What's the movie? What version? Halloween, not the TV version. The original theatrical cut. That is the movie. That is broadly and largely accepted as the official narrative, right? So, but like I said, if somebody wants to, go, well, that's it. It feels better to me if somebody wants to say, I guess the point I'm making is that in regards to the subjectivity, if somebody wants to make an argument, well, this is canon to me, at least it's been officially released by the studio, if you know what I mean. Sure, it's like a special feature kind of thing, and they're sort of drawing attention to the fact that it's not anything really official, but it's been officially released in not just as deleted scenes or alternate scenes, but it's been officially released with those scenes in the narrative in a linear fashion. So I can be like, okay, cool. But if deleted, like, if somebody comes to me and says, well, I think Kylo Ren did go on the Millennium Falcon, that's to me, that scene is canon. I'm like, but you can't watch it in the movie. You have to watch it outside of the movie. That's canon to me. It's a weak argument. It's very, very, very weak. If Disney releases The Force Awakens, which they'll never do, with that scene added in, okay, cool. Because then it feels more legit, feels more official, right? Because it's having an official stamp of approval on it. That's how I feel about it anyway. I'd love to know if you're watching me after the fact. Comment below and let me know your thoughts on deleted and alternate scenes. And remember, try to do the best you can on removing the subjectivity of it. Try to be as objective as you possibly can. And sometimes that's hard to do. We're all guilty of it, of course, but try to be as objective as you possibly can. I would love to know your thoughts, and in the chat room as well. Fire away. I think it'd be really interesting to know your thoughts if you have any questions in regards to alternate and deleted scenes, but that's how I generally feel about it. And I think if you are somebody that likes to consider deleted scenes canon, I believe your argument is more sound and stronger if there is an official release of the movie in a linear fashion with those scenes in it. Doesn't mean there aren't some things that, it doesn't mean that there aren't holes that I or somebody else could poke real deep into your argument, but it's a little more sound than just some random deleted scene in the back of a DVD that you just suddenly consider canon. Hey, this deleted scene from My Cousin Vinny is fucking canon. It's like, okay, you know what I mean? So that's how I feel about it anyway. I'd love to hear what you guys are saying about it. So let me just go over to the super chats, which is, it's two of them. Two of them came in. David Coe sends in a $9.99 super chat and says, my girlfriend just watched 8-4 for the first time. Amazing. And loved your idea of Loomis blowing Jamie away. She thought it would be cool if the final shot was the dad telling the cops he shot her 6 times. Oh my God, he shot her 6 times. I don't know if I would laugh. Like, I know I'm not, but I'm just thinking that maybe it would have played really great in 1988. But I think that line would have been, because everybody makes fun of that line now. I mean, in a very sort of positive way. Like, you know, we're poking fun, but it's all in good fun because we love the fucking movie and we love it. You know, we love that ending, right? But I don't know. You got to be careful. That line might be a bit comical today. But I love your girlfriend's line of thinking, though. That's really cool. Robert Kitzmiller says, what do you think about... Oh, let me go over to this one. What do you think about when studios put non-canon things in movies like H-18 and all the non-canon Easter eggs? Same sin as your Daniel Harris gripe. Yeah, no, I don't like it. I don't like it. And by the way, let me just say that there are deleted scenes where there can be things happening in the deleted scene that are canon, right? Like Kylo Ren boarding the Millennium Falcon. Well, he was boarding the Millennium Falcon because the Millennium Falcon had crashed on Starkiller Base and it was in the snow and you could see the snowtroopers and like the event is canon, but it's just that particular moment. It's, you know, it's almost like a false memory. You know, it didn't really happen per se until I can watch The Force Awakens with that added in officially. Anyway, back to your question here, buddy. Let me just read that again. So what do you think about when studios put non-canon things in movies like H-18 and all the non-canon Easter eggs? Same sin as your Daniel Harris gripe. It depends on the degree for which they're doing it. You know, Halloween 18, to be fair, did it pretty well. There was a lot of it, but what there was, I didn't find too intrusive. Like having the Halloween 3 masks on a couple of trick-or-treaters. So for example, the 2 kids you see at the beginning of H-18 that bump into Michael Myers, right? We all know the scene I'm talking about, right? Just before he goes off and kills Marion Singh. Hello, Marion. How you doing? I got to get Marion back on. Marion, I got to get you back on. I love Marion. So so there's those 2 kids. Now there were 2 kids. I guess there would need to be 3 if you had all the masks, but you'll see the point I'm making. If those kids that bumped into Michael were wearing the Halloween 3 masks, I think that's a little on the nose. And although some fans would have loved it, it's not something that I would have done because I would have felt that, well, this movie isn't canon anymore. So it's a little too on the nose. It's a little too front and center. When you do see the Halloween 3 masks, the witch, the skull, and the pumpkin, it's in the background. It's kids just running by. I think when Laurie is telling everybody to get the fuck inside or something, right? You know, you see them for like 3 seconds or something. I think that's the only time you see them. It's part of the ambiance that's going on. It's part of the environment. It blends in, you know. And then because it blends in, it becomes a true Easter egg to some degree, and doesn't feel intrusive or, as Blood Red Skies here says, corny. You know, it's not on the nose. It's just kind of there. Oh, that's cool. That's kind of cool. You know, I'm okay with little things like that because it doesn't feel self-aware. If the shamrock masks were on the kids who bump into Michael, it feels a little too self-aware. You know, whereas the masks in the background don't feel that way. So, but it's the exact reason why I'm not a fan of, and I was not a fan of Paul Rudd either coming back. It's unnecessary. I don't care if people like Paul Rudd as Tommy Doyle. Me saying I don't want Paul Rudd as Tommy Doyle is not saying I hate Paul Rudd as Tommy Doyle. I don't particularly think he was great, but that's not what I'm saying. You know, I'm thinking about, does it make sense continuity? And it doesn't. It's irrelevant. It's pointless. Danielle Harris coming back as her daughter is pointless because, and I've said this 1,000 times, it's because the reason why, and again, I don't want to speak for you, but it's a general idea from the messages I get, the arguments people try to have with me, everything I'm seeing, even if you don't realize it consciously. The reason why, generally speaking, people want Danielle Harris back as Jamie Lloyd is because they want Jamie Lloyd back. They want Jamie Lloyd back. And if Danielle Harris was to come back and be Jamie Lloyd, she wouldn't be the same Jamie Lloyd. It would be a different Jamie Lloyd. So everything that Jamie Lloyd went through in Halloween 4 and 5 as Danielle Harris, right, never happened. So you can't watch her and going, there's the little girl that she had to sit. No, that's not her. It's completely different. 100% different. Not her. Completely different woman. No. It's pointless. It's pointless. And I didn't want them to throw her a bone and have her in a cameo in some convenience store that Karen has to go into or something, and she spends 30 seconds at the counter buying a pack of cigarettes or something. Nobody wants it because Danielle Harris deserves better than that, right? We can agree on that. So it's just, I understand that it doesn't make sense. You want Jamie Lloyd back. And you don't just want some random Jamie Lloyd who's Jamie Lloyd in name only and just so happens to look like an older Jamie Lloyd because it's the same actor. That's not what you want. Admit it to yourself. It's not what you want. Is that what you're going to settle on? Well, I guess I'll just settle. I really want fucking steak, but I'll settle on this fucking little pork chop that's been dry for 6 weeks. That's not what you want. You want the fucking steak. That's what you want. And to some degree, maybe that's what you deserve. Maybe it is. But I don't want that. If Danielle Harris ever comes back as Jamie Lloyd, I want to see Jamie fucking Lloyd. I want to know when I'm watching the movie that character in the movie right now has memories of standing at the top of the stairs with scissors in her hand. I want to know that character I'm watching flap her lips to her mother is the same woman who has memories of having dreams about the Nightmare Man or having dreams of Michael sitting up on the other side of her bed, or having memories of being on the roof with her foster sister, Rachel. That's the same character on screen right now. She has those memories. The character in Halloween 18 would never have had those memories because it would have been the same in name only. It would have just been the studio throwing you a bone. And it's the same reason why I don't think Paul Rudd should have come back, because it wouldn't have been the same Tommy Doyle. He would have had no memory of any cult of Thorn or, looking out the window at the girl across the street. Nothing. Just would have been Paul Rudd. So I can't watch that movie going, oh, that's the same guy that beat Michael over the head with a pipe. No, it's not the same guy. It's not. Just so happens to look like him, I guess. It's not the same guy at all. They're throwing you a bone. And I don't like that. It feels pretentious and chintzy and condescending. I don't like it. Now, fucking get it right. Don't throw me a bone now. It's kind of after the fact. So now you're throwing me a bone? Maybe you should have got it right the first fucking time. No, I don't want your bone. I don't want your bone. Just go and make a Halloween movie that's good. I don't want you, well, we got Danielle Harris back. No. Don't try to cohort me in going to see the movie. No. It feels cheap. I don't want that. But that's me. That's me. If you want that, that's okay. I don't agree with you for the reasons I've said, because I think it's kind of silly. But if you wanted Danielle Harris back because you just wanted Danielle Harris back, okay, that's fine. We're all entitled to our thoughts and opinions. You're entitled to mine. But that's Jonathan Nichols. I don't want your bone. That's what she said. Where's my rim shot? Where is it here? Here we go. There you go, buddy. There you go. You got your first rim shot. So that's kind of how I feel about it anyway. Yeah. So I mean, if it can be done right, it can be classy and it can be really cool, But, like I remember like Danielle Harris should come back. I'm like, why? I'm not saying that Judy Greer, is that her name? Yeah, no. Yeah, that's her name, right? Why am I blanking on this? Yeah, I think that's her name. Why I'm blanking on this, I have no idea. I'm not saying she was better than Jamie Lloyd. I'm not saying that. Yep, that's right. Yeah. I'm not saying she was better than that. I'm just saying that it makes no logical sense continuity to have a character that doesn't exist anymore. Now, if they had decided to make a sequel to Halloween 4, let's say they said, you know what, we're rebooting it again. Okay, they're rebooting it again. And in 2016, when there were some rumblings about this, and in 2017, they didn't say that they were going to make a direct sequel to Halloween 2. They didn't say, 1, negating part 2. They didn't say that. The official announcement was we're making a direct sequel to Halloween 4. Let's hypothetically say that's what they were going to do. And that's what Halloween 18 was. Well, then I would have been first in fucking line saying, you know who you get for Laurie's daughter? Danielle Harris. Danielle Harris, excuse me, Daniel. That's her brother. Danielle Harris, right? That's who you get. That's not her brother, but that's who you get, right? Because, hello, obviously, and here's your opportunity. The fans are going to be blown away, and it makes sense to the story. It makes sense continuity-wise, But this just didn't make any sense to me. It makes no logical sense. As much as I would have loved to have seen that, Story comes first. Let's see here. So moving on. Intel Wild, my man. Intel Wild. You fooled them, haven't you, Michael? But not me. Great stuff there, Dave. Could have easily been in the OG film. It could have been. It's in the TV cut. It could have been. It was a great line. I wasn't really a fan of seeing him in the thing I like most about that scene is not necessarily seeing Michael staring out the window. I think it's more effective. I think it actually waters down Loomis's speech. I think there's some things in the TV version that water down his speech. I think his speech is more effective when he's just telling the story and we imagine it in our own minds. I think seeing Michael, and it's funny, whenever I hear him tell that story, when I watch the original Halloween, I never think of the TV cut. I never do. I never think of that little boy. Even the image of him in part 2 as well. I never think of it. Thank goodness. But I think it waters it down. I think it's much more effective and eerie when we don't know what that looks like. The only thing I do like from that scene, of course, is that line. I think it's a really, really good line because it helps you, it establishes more about Dr. Loomis's character, how he's not easily fooled, that he knows more, than meets the eye, that he's on top of things. You know what I mean? He's a sense of authority on the subject. He's a sense of authority on this character. You know what I mean? I like that. But seeing Michael, I don't think it really brings anything to the movie at all. As a matter of fact, like I said, it tends to water things down. Mr. Emoji Film says, Dave, were you a fan of Are You Afraid of the Dark? No. Now, when I say no, I don't mean that I'm not a fan of Are You Afraid of the Dark, but when was Are You Afraid of the Dark? When was it a Are You Afraid of the Dark television series? What year was this? Because was I too old? Oh, no. First episode, October 31st, 1990. Yeah, I was 11. Final episode, 1996. Well, it was right in my prime time. I didn't watch a lot of kid shows like that. I didn't watch a lot of kid shows like that. I know it was very popular, and I had friends that did, but I was not really into it. No, I was not. DMT Infinity says The Sheep Attacks by Dave McRae, in my opinion, is one of the absolute best Michael Myers fan films. Really? That little thing that I did? It's so simple, it really is, but it's so effective, and that ending is chilling. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, my man. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and thank you so much for the compliment. I really appreciate that. JBeach12078 says, how about all the cuts of Apocalypse Now? Have you seen any of them? I've only seen the... Yeah, there are a lot of cuts of Apocalypse Now. And I don't like that. I don't like when people go back and do that, But like I said, I mean, arguments can be made, If there's like 5 cuts of Apocalypse Now, which I don't think there is there? There's I think there's 3. There's at least 3, I think. I've only seen the first, like the theatrical one. And it's a good movie. That's a good movie too, like in and of itself. But I would say that I'm not again, going back to the original argument that I had, I think you can poke holes in it, but if it's officially released, officially supported, officially acknowledged by the studio, deleted scenes that were once deleted are in alternate cuts of the movie, whether it's director's cut or TV cut or what have you, extended cut, there's arguments to be made. And I can accept somebody saying that they consider that canon. But I just have a hard time with people who look at deleted scenes that were never in the movie, have never been in the movie. There's never been alternate versions and just go, well, that actually happened. And it's like, but it didn't. That's why it's not in the movie. That's why you're watching it deleted. You know. But anyway. Dude says deleted alternate scenes are not canon, in my opinion, because they aren't part of the actual release film. Agreed. Any of those scenes are only canon if they don't negate what is in the released cut. Oh, interesting. I see what you're saying. So you feel that if there's an alternate release of a movie, this is interesting, and they put the deleted scene in, it's not at the detriment or the sacrifice of a scene that's already in there. So it has to be an additional scene. So the deleted scene can't replace anything that's there. It has to be just another scene that's in the movie, which would naturally extend the runtime. Interesting. You know what? I can understand that. I can understand that. That's fair. That's fair, because then that other scene becomes deleted then. And it's like, well, wait a second here. You know, I get what you're saying. That's an interesting way to look at it. Yeah, I'm down with that. Raise Peace, says, exactly. I never understood why that's so hard to understand for many. Not sure what you're talking about. I've been talking a lot here, man. I'll take it. I'll take that you definitely know what's going on. Andrew Stevens sends in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Andrew. Says, Life Advice with D. Vinny. What a classic. Thanks for everything, Dave. Oh, my goodness. Those are from 2015, I think, or 16. Andrew's talking about a couple of videos I did 5 years ago where I combed my hair all the way back to give myself this big forehead. Like I wet my hair just to give myself this huge forehead. And just so I looked almost like Italian. I'm not Italian at all. But I was just this funny character that I was doing on my channel. And I think it could have, and again, this is like 2 years before I really started attacking my channel in the ways that I do now. I should revisit Life Advice with D. Vinny. They were short 1-minute clips of me just being stupid, sucking on a toothpick, you know, kind of go, hey, so you want some advice, eh? You want some advice? I'll give you some fucking advice. Get a job, you fucking lazy bum. Like just shit like shit like that. It's funny shit. I didn't realize that they were still on my channel. I guess they are. You are welcome, Andrew. You can watch them until your heart's content. Yeah, it's some funny shit. I should bring back D. Vinny. I should bring him back. Blood Red Sky says, I sent you a super chat below Intel. Let me scroll back and get it here, buddy. May have missed it. Thank you. There it is. There it is. I see it, my man. I see it. Thank you, buddy. Blood Red Sky sends in a $5 super chat. Says, since Freddy was never shown during daytime in part 1, was part 4 when they started showing him like in daylight at the summer beach. As Dr. Loomis would say, you may be right. You may be right. That might be the Fred heads in the chat might be able to come to my aid on this. I don't recall any daylight stuff with Freddy in part 1. Don't recall any daylight stuff with Freddy in part 2. And we're not talking about Robert Englund driving the school bus at the beginning. Yes, technically from a certain point of view, that's Freddy during the day. But you know what Blood Red Skies is saying, right? I don't think there was anything. No, not in there. Part 3, Dream Warriors. I don't think so. So I think you might be right. I think Elm Street 4 Dream Master might be the first time we see Freddy during the daytime on the beach. You might be right on that. You might be right on that. Good stuff. Robert Thidoff says, Dave, how do you determine canon with TV shows? For example, Chuck vanishes. Oh, let me go back here. Chuck vanishes from Happy Days. Tiger gone from the Brady Bunch. Dan dying in Roseanne, etc., etc. Well, TV's an area TV's an area that's I'm not a big TV watcher. Like, I don't watch a lot of modern TV shows. Certainly not as many as you probably watch. If I was to watch TV, I usually watch older shows that are just kind of nostalgic for me and things like that. But I will say that, yeah, that's a tough one, because I'd have to brush up on those shows, and sort of know how they addressed it, if they addressed it, what have been the official releases of the shows on DVD, what shows play in syndication, because when a show reaches 100 episodes, it automatically gets picked up for syndication. And sometimes the shows you see in syndication are not the same episodes. I mean, there's some slight changes to the episodes. So I'm not up on that, but I would imagine the same principles probably apply. I would probably still feel the same way about that, but I would have to brush up on that. That's a good question though, Robert. That's a very good question. Very, very good. I got to brush up on that. That's good. Hey, the Horror Show, Cecil, my man, the Horror Show says, what about extended director's cuts, Dave? Are they officially canon or theatrical versions? Great. We were just talking about this. I would consider director's cuts officially canon. And the reason for that, again, as I was saying at the beginning of the show, is for two reasons. Number one is it's been officially released by the studio, so it's official. It's not a fan cut that somebody's done on YouTube. It's not, imagine this kind of thing. It is officially acknowledged as official. So that's number one. And it's a director's cut. And when the director's vision can be fully realized and the studio supports that, that's almost as official as it can get. So I do support that. And that's the much stronger argument to be made for me when there's a director's cut that's officially released. If there's an extended cut or a TV cut or something, those cuts you can still kind of poke holes in. But yeah, a director's cut, I definitely consider that officially canon. However, you still run into the predicament of, well, is it alternate reality? Because how different is it? Because some director's cuts are not that different from the theatrical cut. Some are, and then some are, if the theatrical cut is 90 minutes and the director's cut's 98 minutes or something. So there's 8 minutes of extra shit, which can be a lot of shit. But then you realize, oh, it's the same scene, but there's just a little more exposition. There's just this, but it doesn't really change anything per se. But if there's stuff in there that changes how you look at the movie or how you look at certain characters or the end result of stuff, yeah, you run into that conundrum, that dichotomy of which is official. Can both things be equally true? Can both things exist in the same reality? Or do we have to go, the route that I was saying earlier about how there are different realities? And then you have to acknowledge, well, what's the real reality here? And then I think the real reality, the only way you can measure it, it's like how I did that video a few months back on what is the most iconic house in horror. Well, what do I mean by horror? Generally, people are going to point to their favorite house, right? Like if you're a huge Freddy fan, you'll say Freddy. If you're a big Michael Myers fan, you'll say Michael Myers, right? The Myers house. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to remove the subjectivity from it and really tackle it from the perspective of, how do we measure iconic? And there's different ways that you can measure iconic. Like, what does iconic mean? And iconic for me in my video was, what would be the most recognizable house to the average person? Right? So the average person, what's the most recognizable house that you could just show the average person on the street, not hardcore, sweaty horror nerds like us, but the average person on the street? What would the most recognizable house be? And I think the likely choice is probably the Psycho house. I think the average person will be able to pick the Psycho house out of them all. Then followed by either the Elm Street house or the Amityville Horror house. I think the Myers house is very low on the list, to be honest with you. And there's reasons for that. Like I said in the video, because it only appears in one movie. I mean, it appears in part 2 a little bit, but it's really only in one movie. And the house keeps changing every film. The house never changed in Elm Street. The house never changed with Psycho. The house never changed with Amityville, right? So, that plays a huge factor. So again, the point I'm making by telling you all that is we come to the conundrum of what is real and what's official. And then, between director's cut and theatrical cut, what would be the real official, even though they're kind of both. I think we have to then broaden it to what's our measuring stick, right? What do we mean by official? And I think the only way you could go is what is the broadly accepted version that everybody watches, in mass, right? There are some people that are always going to watch the director's cut of shit. But generally speaking, what's the movie they show on television? What's the movie that comes back to theaters for 3 nights only? What's the movie that you generally see on the shelves for pickup, right? What's the movie that they always have stock in on the shelves? What's the movie that you generally see for sale? And usually that's the theatrical cut. Generally speaking, right? That doesn't mean you can't buy the director's cut of something, but I think that's how we kind of have to measure it in some ways. Because if not, then can both things exist at the same time and both be official? That feels like an awkward conundrum in some ways. It's weird. Great question, Cecil. My man, Cecil. Let me see here. We got Billy Van sends in a super chat. Thank you, Billy. Says, Dave, what is your least favorite movie besides any of the Halloween sequels? Mine would have to be the movie Teeth. I've never heard of, or maybe I have. Actually, it does sound familiar. Teeth. Why does that sound familiar? My least favorite movie. I don't know, man. I don't watch a lot of bad movies, and I think it's because, ironically, I don't watch a lot of movies. I mean, I watch a lot of movies, but I don't know. Bad movie. Well, I will say this. I watched, and this is not my least favorite movie of all time, okay? But it's the thing that came to my head. I watched the original, and it's a classic. I watched the original The Stepford Wives from the 70s, and not the one with Nicole Kidman from like 15 years ago, which is more of a black comedy. I watched the original. Hey, Google, what year did the original Stepford Wives come out? That's like 75.
Here's what I understood from the website IMDb.com. The Stepford Wives, 1975. IMDb.
I was right.
You want a little more context?
No, thank you. You son of a bitch. No, I said no.
IMDb.
I said no. It's more of a psychological kind of thriller. So my girlfriend and I sat and watched it about, I don't know, I think it was over quarantine, 4 months ago or whatever, 5 months ago. And there's moments in there where I'm like, I really like what they're doing here. And the ending, like the set design and the art direction in the end was really cool. But there were a lot of continuity things that didn't make fucking sense. Like, for example, this lady's dog goes missing. They can't find the dog. They go out searching for the dog, but then they get distracted by something as they're out searching, and they go and attend to whatever that is that they're being distracted by, but then they never acknowledge the dog ever again. Like, they don't really care about the dog. You never see the dog ever again. And my girlfriend and I are like, why are they not, like, do they just not care about the dog? That was kind of a weak search. There's a lot of things in that. It had a lot of potential, but it was very strange. I just wasn't a big fan of it. A lot of potential. And I know it's a classic, but I wasn't feeling it. But that's not the worst movie I've ever seen. It's just a movie I've seen recently, fairly recently, right? Last 6 months or so, where I was like, you know what I mean? But least favorite movie of all time. I really don't know. That's interesting. The Horror Show, Cecil, my man, says T2 and Aliens and Abyss extended cuts are canon to me, but yeah, majority probably rules. Yeah, see, that's a very balanced approach that Cecil takes there. And if you are a hardcore, sweaty nerd horror fan like we are, right? Generally speaking, when you watch an extended cut or a director's cut, you do like it better because you want to be fed all that extra juicy shit on a movie that you already like. So sometimes less is more, but in this case, sometimes just a little bit more is kind of better, right? But I think, I think in the big scope of things, I think, we have to first ask ourselves, what's our measuring stick when we say official? And I think the only thing we can do really is just what is generally the most widely accepted version of the movie. The one you see on TV, the one that comes back to the theaters, right? The one you generally can go to the local Walmart or Best Buy and just pick up. You know what I mean? So Yeah. Tabitha Short says, hey, Darren, I've been wondering if I was the only mod here tonight. Oh, wow. Well, Tabitha, you're doing a great job. Tabitha and Darren, my great moderator. Of course, Cecil is also a moderator as well. He chimes in every now and then. He's like an honorary doctorate, you know. Hey, Cecil and I did something pretty cool this morning. I don't think we can talk about it yet, can we, Cecil? Is it out there? Or anyway. Oh, no, I think I talked about it already. I might have mentioned something. I think it's out there. It's not like a surprise or anything. I haven't advertised it yet, but I think Cecil will be doing it soon. The horror show. Cecil again says, Danielle Harris isn't Jamie Lloyd in Halloween Kill. She's a randu nurse. Oh, a random nurse. That'd be funny if that's true. You've heard that. Well, that would be upsetting to me. That would be upsetting to me. If that's true, I haven't heard that, but if that's true, that would be upsetting to me because it's just kind of like, it feels chintzy. It feels like they're throwing a bone, you know. It's not a big fan. Robert Kitzmiller says, what is the most iconic horror poster image? The most iconic horror poster image. Well, how are we defining iconic, Robert? What's iconic? Same thing as like the houses, like what would be the most recognizable? Is that our measuring stick? Because we got to define that, right? I mean, iconic does have a definition, but there's many different ways that people interpret iconic. So that's why we have to kind of, yes, same thing. Okay, well, Hans Gruber there gave a good one. Yeah, Jaws, probably Jaws, you know, when you think about it, generally speaking. And I think at the end of the day, how you define that is you show the poster to somebody without the title. Because that's how you really define it, right? Is you show the horror poster in question to the person without the title. And I think the vast majority of people would be able to pick up, it's kind of gives it away, you know, right in the posing of the shark, right? But it's iconic, you know, it's iconic. I actually think that although this does lessen the probability of being recognizable, especially for the younger generation. But certainly I think you could remove the red text of Jaws and you could remove the shark. I think you could remove the shark and just have the water with the lady swimming at the top. And I think, now obviously you do lessen this, but I think some people will still get it. I think a lot of people will still go, oh, that's Jaws. You know, because they make the association. It's psychological. They make the association swimmer, water, right? You know, and then horror movie, you're asking about horror movies and things like that. They're probably going to pick Jaws, you know. Jaws is a good one. That is, if it's not the most iconic in that regard, it's one of the most iconic of all time, for sure. Back in the day when they actually painted artwork and they actually, you know, drew and painted. I miss that. I miss those days, man. I really, really miss those days. Jason Myers sends in a $4.99 super chat and says, what about a TV series connected to a movie after the fact? For example, is Cobra Kai canon to the Karate Kid? Yes, Cobra Kai is definitely canon to the Karate Kid. And the reason for that is because they are fully acknowledging and embracing and accepting everything that happened in the original film series. So yes, I do believe you can, and I think you can do it the other way around too. I think you can make a television series and then, which doesn't usually happen, but I think you can make a television series and then branch off into film and have it canon, yes. Just because you change the medium for which you're watching, as long as the continuity in the story and the characters remain the same, and there is acknowledging, right? There is an acknowledgement that there is a cohesive, consistent, linear story that is carrying over from one medium to the next, and they aren't rebooting it per se or remaking it, right? It's not a remake per se. It is a continuation. It's just for the small screen. I would definitely say, yes, that is 100% canon for sure. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. Let me see here. Evil Alex says, TV version is official, released and written and directed by John Carpenter, so it's canon. It's not deleted scenes. The scenes happen in the story. You just don't see in the theatrical cut. Well, again, Like I said earlier, Evil Alex, you can make that argument. You can definitely make that argument, but we can poke holes into it because then we have to get really meta, right? We have to get a little cerebral here, and we have to start going down the route of can both exist in the same universe? And we can just arbitrarily say, yes, yes, yes. But when it is put up against arguments and put up with a little more analysis, we can break that down a bit and it starts to kind of poke holes, right? So I understand what you're saying, and you're not wrong with what you're saying. Everything you said there is actually factually true. But when we talk about canon and stories and storytelling and things that make sense in terms of continuity, can both versions exist simultaneously, or do they have to exist in alternate realities? Because if they exist simultaneously, that would mean that there would be one version of it, because both things I can't be in two places at once, right? I can't. It's literally impossible unless time travel exists, right? Unless, like, you know what I mean? Like, we really, and I know it might be like, oh my God, Dave, like you're going, but this is how I think about this shit, right? This is what, you know, if you say something, this is what it's got to be put up against, because people take this shit seriously, right? And we're trying to look at it as objectively as we possibly can in a very subjective world. Right? And I think that's more fun to do. I think it makes people wiser. I think it strengthens your debating skills. I think it helps to kind of look at things and picture things and think about things in ways that you haven't before. So you're not wrong with the principle of what you're saying. But then my argument would be, well, why don't we see it then? Why, when I watch Halloween, am I not seeing Annie go over to Laurie's place? Why don't I see it if it exists in that world? Why don't I see it? You know, I'm getting really meta now. You know what I mean? And then we gotta have to be like, how do we? It's fascinating, dude. I'm telling you, it's fascinating shit. Julian Salgado. Yes, Julian, my man, who reminded me about this great topic tonight. Hey, what's up, Dave? So I seen an article that Scream 6 already got greenlit. That doesn't surprise me. Does that mean Scream 5 will end on a cliffhanger? Thoughts? Well, likely. I mean, I think there's a high probability of that. Yes, I think there's a high probability that we may see Scream 5 end on a cliffhanger. What sort of cliffhanger? I'm not sure. But remember, just because something was greenlit doesn't mean that it is definitely going to happen. When something is greenlit, all that means is that it really it has entered into the, well, in this case, it means that the studio is prepared to go ahead with it. If Scream 5 is successful, the studio is prepared. They will enter into development on it. They will probably write a script for it. But there's a lot of scripts that get written that never see the light of day. There's a lot of productions and stories and films that get greenlit that never see the light of day. Just because something is greenlit doesn't automatically means it will see the silver screen. So keep that in mind. If Scream 5 is a total disaster, it's a total disaster. If Scream 5 is a total disaster, which it won't likely be, but hypothetically if it is, just because they've greenlit Scream 6 doesn't mean they have to go through with it. But again, there could be contractual obligations to the actors and to the directors and to the creators that say, if we do decide to go ahead with Scream 6, you are contractually obligated to return. Just because you sign on for a 3-picture deal or a 2-picture deal doesn't mean that you're automatically going to be in 2 or 3 movies. It just means that if they decide to do 2 or 3 movies, you contractually have to do it. But I don't know what their contracts all entail. I really have no idea. But yeah, great question. Let me see here. Jason Myers says, oh, I already read that one. Scott7 sends in a $2 super chat. Thank you, Scott. Says, Dave, how will you channel pure evil to play Freddy? Great question, Scott. Great question. Well, you know, like I said, I think there are 2 things. One is that I've been privy to seeing the updates on the progress of my makeup and things like that when it comes to Freddy Krueger, and it's been really exciting. Cecil's been very generous and trusting to share some of those images, and it's just amazing. And what Nora Hewitt is doing is unbelievable. Her team and everybody, and everybody, it's just awesome. I know as an actor that once that makeup is on me and I really lose myself in that role, I'll be able to channel that really, really well. I think at the end of the day, it comes down to something that I've said before is that, although Halloween is my favorite horror franchise, and my favorite horror movie, and Michael is my favorite horror character, I was into Freddy before I was into Michael. And I remember playing Freddy in the schoolyard and with my friends, and Michael too, but Freddy as well, and dressing up as Freddy for Halloween with the plastic knives and the mask and the hat. And I mean, I know a fair bit about the franchise and, the character, not as much as Cecil, mind you, he is the Freddy expert, but certainly I can hold my own. And I think that, in some ways, the main goal is to, like I've said many times, is to just not do a Robert Englund impression. I'm not going to do a Robert Englund impression because you're just setting yourself up to fail. The goal is to bring the spirit of the darker, evil Freddy to the role so that when you watch the film, you go, I believe that's Freddy Krueger. Now, it's not Robert Englund, but I totally believe that's Freddy Krueger because it's in the spirit, it's in the vibe, it's in the vein. And that's what I need to do. I'm not a method actor. I'm not going to start fucking, talking like Freddy on lunch breaks. It's just not who I am, because I'm very good at dipping in and out of roles and things. It's just my makeup, I guess. I'm no pun intended on the makeup, but I'm very good with when the cameras roll and action is called, I'm into it. I can turn it on and off like a switch, just doing things like that. You know what I mean? I'm very good at just kind of turning things on and off like a switch. See what I'm saying? So you're going, what the fuck was that? I don't know, but I just did it. I just did it. It's just the way it is. It's how it happens. So that's my main goal though, is just to remember that it is the essence of the original two films that we are really trying to channel there. So, let me see here. Let me get some non-super chats here. Roberto Van Brummelen, I think I'm saying that. Hi, Dave. But don't you think we all wish that comic-style alternate scene I made? Oh, Roberto, right, Roberto. Roberto sent me that. Yeah, sorry. Let me finish what he says here first. But don't you think we all wish that comic-style alternate scene I made and sent to you from Halloween Resurrection was canon? Yes, I think you're right. Roberto sent me through my Facebook page, Many Things Dave McRae, sent me this this comic that he, but a comic strip that he did up himself about how Michael Myers snaps Busta Rhymes' neck right off his head during the confrontation scene when he's like, you're not Michael Myers, I'm Michael Myers. And he starts, poking him in the head or whatever. It was fucking great. And he lifts up the mask and there's, Busta Rhymes' face. I love it, man. Yes, I definitely wish that was canon. Little Friday the 13th with the popping off the head, but I'd take it. I definitely take it. I love it. That's hilarious. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. Let me see here. Gypsy Warrior says, Dave reports today in the UK that Tom Hardy will be the 007th James Bond. 007 James Bond. See what I did there? I did. Thoughts? I gotta say, I did see that report, and I gotta say, I'm not that enthused. I actually would have preferred Henry Cavill, to be honest with you. Tom Hardy, to me, feels less debonair and more jockey bad boy-y, and maybe that's what they're going for. They want to, again, improve Bond, and, but again, I'm going based on the films that he's done, his look, the roles that he's played in the past, and he's a great actor. There's no doubt about that. Do I think he could do Bond? Sure, yeah, for sure. I am not in the camp of, I'm not in that, Robert Pattinson, I'd never be Batman. I don't fall into that camp of when an actor is, unless it's like, Danny DeVito is the new James Bond. Well, then it's kind of like, yeah, it really doesn't matter what you fucking do. He's not James Bond. Danny DeVito is Freddy Krueger. Yeah. Although that actually might be kind of scary from a certain point of view. But you know what I'm saying, right? I don't really fall into that camp. And Tom Hardy could blow us away. And 5 years from now, we could be like, Tom Hardy's the fucking man. He's James Bond. But my first reaction is, I don't know. I think I would have preferred Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill to me seems, it's the way he carries himself. He seems more dashing, more like a traditional James Bond, but can still kind of kick some ass as well, like Daniel Craig to some degree. I don't know. Tom Hardy seems a little, I don't know, bad. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like James Bond to me. I just don't see James Bond when I look at Tom Hardy. I can totally see James Bond when I look at Henry Cavill. And I'm not saying that Henry Cavill has to be Bond either, but between the two, I would have chosen Henry Cavill. But that's me. But I'm looking forward to Tom Hardy, if it is true and it is made official, and this isn't just a rumor, because I believe it's a rumor right now. I don't think it's official. Then I'm looking forward to be proven wrong. Fucking Tom Hardy, James Bond, man. Let's do it. Robert Kitzmiller says, I want a painting of Frank leaned back, leather chair, boots on the table, puffing on world's most expensive Cuban. Well, Bruce is a visual artist. I could always reach out to Bruce and see if he'll do it up. That'd be funny. I see a lot of messages being deleted here. What's going on? Is everybody behaving themselves in the chat room? My mods don't usually have to delete too many messages. Just remember, folks, behave yourselves. Let me just check, see what's going on here. Okay. Yeah. It might have been in jest, but, just try to behave yourselves, everybody. We're all a family here. We don't have to fucking argue. Calm down. It's fucking the internet. It's really not that fucking important. We're chatting online, folks. We're chatting online. Behave yourselves. My moderators do a good job on keeping the ebb and flow of the chat moving. Gypsy Warrior says, Dave, I personally wanted Christian Bale as Bond. Yeah, he might be a little too Batman. But then you got Han Solo and Indiana Jones. I mean, I do believe that two people can, I see what you're saying. Let me see here. Josh McGrath says, Dave, do you prefer the Ring remake over the original Japanese movie? And do you find Japanese movies are underrated when it comes to generally good horror? Because in my opinion, they make some of the most terrifying. They absolutely make some of the most terrifying. I also find some British horror actually quite terrifying. And some of the Hammer films are really, really good. I haven't watched some in so long, but yeah, I generally find foreign horror films, whether that's Italian, British, Japanese, French, German, whatever it is, I generally find them much more moody and atmospheric and nuanced than anything coming out of the States, at least at the studio level. Generally. That doesn't mean that the studios also haven't dished out some pretty fucking awesome horror films. But generally, I find that. That might be me. Do I prefer the Japanese one? I don't know. I mean, I really like the American remake of The Ring from 2002. I really like that movie. I really, really do. And the Japanese one from 98, I haven't seen in a while. I own it, but I haven't seen it in a while. So I'll have to watch it again. I'll have to circle back around to you. Let me see here. Wayne Gotke says Idris Elba could have done it if he'd been cast 4 years ago. Yeah, Idris Elba would have. You see, and I look at Idris Elba, right? And I see like a dashing, debonair kind of guy. I don't see that in Tom. I don't know what it is. Tom Hardy just looks a little more jockish to me. I don't know. But I want him, if it is true, and he is the guy, I want him to prove me wrong, man. I definitely want him to prove me wrong, for sure, 100%. 100%. Song Fan sends in a super chat and says, missed my super chat. Thank you so much, Song Fans. Let me see. Where are you, Song Fans? I missed a super chat. God damn it. Where'd it go here? Ooh, this is way back. Where were you, my man? Oh, there you are. There you are, Song Fans. Song Fan sends in a $4.99 super chat, says, Dave, how do you feel about the 1998 horror film Urban Legend? I love that it was the girl that was the killer the whole time. Spoiler alert. It's 22 years old. Who gives a fuck? Yeah, I mean, that movie came out right at right in the thick of the late 90s slasher horror boom. Scream 2, I Know What You Did Last Summer, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, Halloween H2O, Urban Legend. The Faculty's in there too. That was sort of a bit after that, but I don't mind it. I watched it not too long ago because Tony and I did a Two Dudes on it, like within the last year, I think. I thought it was all right. I don't think it's like it's serviceable. It's fine. Yeah. But you're right. Having the girl as the killer was stepping out of tropes, you know, and it was good, especially because all the horror films up to that point, apart from Scream 2, I guess, because in Scream 2, obviously it was part of the problem was Jackie from Roseanne. But it certainly is not a traditional thing to have the killer be female. That's not very common. Even today, it's not common. It's more common today than it ever was. Like Happy Death Day, I thought was great for that. But yeah, it's fine. It was fine. It was fine, ladies and germs. It was fine. Jason Myers says, Dave, missed my other super chat. I missed your other super chat too? Did I really? Let me scroll back here. Why am I missing super chats? Sometimes they... here we are. Yes, I see you here. Jason Myers says, speaking of the Halloween TV version, could they have at least made an attempt to make Loomis 15 years younger in the boardroom scene, for God's sakes? Well, I don't get... Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. The answer to that is no. I mean, they could have maybe put a little bit of darkness in his beard. I think that's what I would have done, is probably just sort of darkened his beard a bit. But then that would have looked sort of funny. Like, it's always you always have to be careful if you want to de-age. And remember, this is 1981, I think, when they did this, because it was specifically shot for when Halloween was airing on television for the first time, which I think was 81. It was in and around the time that Halloween 2 was going to come out. And of course, they didn't have any deep fake shit back then. So to dye his beard would have looked very strange, because he's still like 60 years old. So it would have looked like Dr. Loomis just dyes his fucking beard. You know what I mean? I don't think it's a big deal. I really don't. I mean, maybe they could have done a little something, I guess. Maybe put a little darkness in his beard, a little brown, maybe, you know, maybe have him maybe a little more hair or something, but yeah, it's never really bothered me. But I get what you're saying. Intel Wild sends in a $5 super chat, says, Dave, do you know yet when we are gonna get the black Christmas ornaments from Lynn? Well, Lynn is still in the process of making them, and then I have to meet her and get them from her. And then I can ship them out to everybody probably for this Christmas. I'll try and do that. That's a perk that I can deliver on as long as Lynn is supposed to. I told her to reach out to me when they are ready to go. If we get to like the middle of October and I still haven't heard from her, I will reach out to her again just to kind of get an idea of sort of the where we're at when it comes to that. But she's making 20 of them, so might take her a bit. She's got to order all the the materials and things like that. So, but it's possible. Hopefully, we can send them off to you guys. Before Christmas. Hopefully we can do that. Now, I don't know if it's going to get to everybody at the same time, because obviously because of COVID-19 and things starting to rise again, all that kind of stuff might be a bit tricky, but that's what I'm hoping. My man. That's what I'm hoping. And in regards to all the other stuff, like all the other perks, like, coming on McRae Live, coming on Two Dudes, all that stuff, we are very aware of it. We have not forgotten about all you awesome donors. We are just trying to set all that up. And like I said, because over this next little bit, it's going to be very tricky and very busy, it's possible we're likely to move that into maybe the very beginning of the new year. And it's not and it's still possible I might be able to get a couple of you guys on throughout the fall. But as you can see, I've had to rearrange a couple of shows. I've had to cancel a couple of shows, and it's just, it's crunch time right now. And there's still a possibility that when it comes to the end of November, we may not be shooting because of COVID-19. Things are beginning to spike here again, and the province of Ontario is starting to implement new regulations again. It's a fucking pain in the ass, and it's annoying because we really want to, go to camera, of course. So it's still kind of a wait and see. We're really hoping we can go to camera at the end of November, but we shall see. But I will definitely keep you updated and on all that. It's just been a little quiet at the moment because we're deep into pre-production, and having meetings and assembling crew and all that kind of jazz. So that's where our focus is right now. Yeah, so, but don't worry, we're going to keep everybody updated. You guys know me. I keep everybody in the loop, so to speak, and never be afraid to ask any questions like Intel Wild did there. Franklin Stein says, Dave, why do you think horror for so many years was seen as one step above porn? Really? When it made studios famous, Universal and New Line created so many famous stars, directors, well, because horror is largely exploitation. And there's different subgenres of horror, psychological, but it's largely an exploitive genre, and you are exploiting people's weaknesses. You're exploiting their fears. You're making people feel uncomfortable. People don't generally feel uncomfortable when they watch dramas or love stories or, just a general neutral sort of thriller, or something like that. But when we're talking about horror, and I don't just mean exploitative horror like Last House on the Left, I'm talking about, or like, I Spit on Your Grave. I'm talking about horror in general when it started to evolve away from the theater of the mind horror and, evolve into more gratuitous violence and in an exploitative nature. It was frowned upon, because it was like, let's not forget, not that Psycho was ever really frowned upon per se, but like I said, it was only 60 years ago that we saw the first toilet flush in a horror movie, in any movie, which was Psycho. It's not that long. Like a lot, and through the 70s and the 80s, it's largely the exploitative nature of the many horror stories, and things like Texas Chainsaw and Last House on the Left and, Black Christmas. And think of the things that Billy is saying on the phone in Black Christmas, 1974. One of our actors, Shelby Handley, who plays Emma in It's Me, Billy, when we were having a conversation a few months back, she watched the original film. She'd never seen it. She watched it, and one of the things she said was, oh my God, the things he's saying on the phone, like, it's like, holy, like, this is 1974. It's like, yeah, he's saying things like, let me lick your pretty pink cunt. That's what he says. And I'm sorry, folks. If that makes you feel uncomfortable to hear me say that now, imagine how it made people feel in 1974. So there was a lot of risks that were being taken and a lot of loosening of the restraints and generally speaking, horror, like I said, is exploitative, and it's not about story. It's not about rich character development and the bigger picture and the human experience. And, it's just what's horror. It's largely about exploiting, weaknesses, stereotypes, blood, gore, and they're fun and they're great and they have their place, but that's largely why. Now, horror has also evolved over the years, and we are getting into the more psychological aspects, and that type of movies always existed, but now it's starting to sort of take over, and horror is maturing, and they're starting to go back and scare people with more theater of the mind, like, Hereditary or, Us, or, like we're starting to move in that direction again, or Don't Breathe, which was really kind of cool too. And it's nice to see that, because they gain a little more respect, because they're more difficult to execute. They're more difficult to achieve because you don't have to rely on cliches, or because you're not relying on cliches and overly used tropes and archetypes. You really have to think about the story. You have to think about the execution. You have to think about, what it is we are doing here. We can't just fall back on, we'll just add more blood. No, we'll just have her go over here instead of there. Tropes is okay because it is a horror movie to a degree, but that horror films are evolving and becoming more mature now, and because it earns more respect. Slasher films will never, because they're not considered largely, it's largely just, I don't know how else to say it, largely exploitative in nature. Look at Terrifier. It's, I'm not saying it's not good. It doesn't have its place, but yeah, I think you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Who's that guy who does that? I forget the character's name that does that. He's always like, you know what I mean. I forget that guy. Okay, let me see here. I don't want to miss any. Okay. You're scrolling down. $5 super chat from Scott7 says, your shows are great. The content funny, interesting, relaxing. Discovered your videos this year and watch them daily. Catching up on old ones. Thank you. Well, thank you, Scott, for sending in that super chat, and thank you for the kind words, man. I really, really appreciate that. That is awesome. The Badass Ninja sends in a very generous super chat of $20. Thank you so much, Chris. It's great to see you. Haven't seen you in a while. I'm glad you're doing well. Dave McRae, I heard they are making a Happy Death Day 3, and it will be called Happy Birthday to Us. Not crazy on the title. I will call it Happy Death Day Tree, playing on the words tree and the main character tree. Well, first of all, Chris, that has not been official as far as I know. The director of the new movie Freaky with Vince Vaughn is the same director that directed Happy Death Day 1 and 2. I adore Happy Death Day 1 and 2. Adore might be a strong word. I mean that I thought they were fun. I wasn't expecting, to reinvent the wheel. I was pleasantly surprised how much fun I enjoyed watching it, and very surprised at the different sort of subgenres that the director is playing with, especially when we get to part 2. It was very refreshing, and I liked them both equally. I think I like the first one better, but I like the second one fine, to the point where I really wanted to see a 3, and he wanted to do a 3. Unfortunately, Happy Death Day to You, Part 2, didn't do nearly as well as the first one. So the demand doesn't appear to be there, Chris, and Blumhouse and Jason Blum made a decision to, let's just not do it right now. Maybe not ever, but let's not do it right now. But when the director was being interviewed because the trailer for Freaky was released, he did say that he still has ideas for Happy Death Day Part 3, which would be called Happy Death Day or Happy Birthday to Us. I actually think I like your idea better, Happy Death Day Tree. I think that's a cool idea. I think that I always thought if they did a Part 3, it should be called Happy Death. What's the girl's name that is at the end of Happy Death Day 2? Hang on a sec here. There's the girl's name here. Not Tree. Happy Death Day. The girl in Happy Death Day, I always forget her name. Let me just go here. Her name is it this woman? No, not her. The one that plays like the villain. What's her name? Is that her name? No. Is that her? Rachel? Yeah, I think that's her. Rachel Matthews, I think is her name. I think her name is Rachel Matthews, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's her real name. So at the end of Happy Death Day Part 2, it's heavily alluded that shit's going to go down with her, right? Well, because you have Happy Death in a potential Part 3. Well, because you have Happy Death Day, that's the name of the first movie. You have Happy Death Day to You, that's the name of the second movie, right? That aligns with sort of the birthday song, Happy Birthday to You, right? So you have Happy Birthday to You. I always thought the third one should be called Happy Death Day, Dear So-and-so, because you always say, Happy Birthday, or Happy Birthday to You, Happy Birthday to You, Happy Birthday, Dear Chris, Happy Birthday to You, right? So I always thought that maybe Part 3, and because it was going to focus on her, should have been called, so you have Happy Death Day to You, and then you also have, and then the third one is Happy Death Day, Dear Danielle. So you have Happy Death Day to You, Happy Death Day, Dear Danielle. I thought that would have been, because if you think about it, it aligns with sort of the birthday song. But I like yours too. Happy Death Day Tree. I think that's kind of cool. That could work. That totally could work. Totally could work, my man. How long are we going here? All right, we'll go another 10 minutes or so. Then I got a skedaddle. Skedaddle. Mike Cornelius says, thank you, buddy. Says, second part question, favorite underrated horror film, and one you didn't like at first, but did with rewatches. For me, underrated Strangers 08, rewatch Evil Dead 13. I've mentioned this to people before. I don't usually like movies later that I didn't like before, because there's always reasons why I don't like movies. I generally don't, if I don't like a movie, I don't watch it again because I have no reason to, because I think it's dog shit. I don't like it. There have been movies that have, and I guess this is sort of what you're saying, that have, I guess, grown on me a little bit. maybe Halloween 3 is one of those movies that have grown on me a little bit over the years, but I still don't think it's a very good movie. And it's not because of the movie itself. I think what they did was fine, but it's all the potential for me. It's all the execution. You know, I think, sorry, not the execution. It's all in I think it's largely a movie of that the sandbox they were playing in was just too big for their budget. And I would like to see a remake of Season of the Witch, but taken very fucking seriously. Like delivered like fucking bang on. Not some dumb wimpy one. No, I mean like fucking serious ass shit. I know that's blasphemous for Halloween 3 Season of the Witch fans and many people, including Sean Clark. I don't know if Sean is watching, but of course he wants a direct sequel. I totally understand that. Totally get it. But for me, I largely think there was so much untapped potential in that sandbox. I would like to see a remake of it. So maybe it's hard to say. I don't generally watch movies again that I don't like. And then underrated for me, I don't know. I think The Strangers from 2008 is rated appropriately. Well, again, I mean, maybe the film Unfriended, you know, again, and I don't think it's a great movie, but it was a movie that surprised me. I watched it last year. I was feeling a little under the weather. I was expecting to hate it. I popped it on and I actually really enjoyed it. And maybe I enjoyed it more than I ordinarily would because I had such low expectations. And that we have to keep in mind too, that if you go into a movie with really low expectations and you find yourself enjoying it, you also have to ask yourself, is this really as good as I thought it was? Or is it because my bar was so low that I was pleasantly surprised? You know what I mean? Because there's many different levels that we tend to critique things and rate things on, you know, there's many different variables at play. So I'll say that for now, I guess. I'll say that for now. Jason Meyer says, Dave, heard you so many times. Good slasher movie. Not a good Halloween movie. Halloween 18. Yes. Besides the original, which movie was? What are you looking for? Okay, so you heard me say so many times that Halloween 18 was a good slasher movie. Yeah, it was fine. There are better out there, but it was you know, I enjoyed it for that, but not a good Halloween movie. Right. Besides the original, which movie was a good Halloween movie? Well, I would say Halloween 2, 1981. Was a good Halloween movie because you largely had the same crew, you had the same DP. John Carpenter wrote a draft of the script. You know, it picks up in continuity where the first one left off. It was made in the same era. So Halloween 1 and 2 look very similar in terms of their production value and quality. The only thing that really makes Halloween 2 vastly different was they stepped up the blood, guts, and gore. And it's not a blood, guts, and gore movie by, you know, today's standards, but in 1981 it was. And of course, that I think is really its only sort of drawback per se. I think, you know, would have been nice to see a little more nuance involved. But I think I think Halloween 2, 1981, even today, is the definitive Halloween sequel. And again, it's largely because of the ingenious idea of to pick it up where it left off. So it feels organic. You know, it feels like I'm watching one movie with two separate parts. I still think it's far inferior to the first one, but that's relative, you know, but I still think it's the best Halloween sequel. I think they just incrementally they just keep going down. You know, and then I think the best sequel after that is probably Halloween 4 for me. But there's a little bit of rose-colored glasses there too, because there's some nostalgia there, and I mean, obviously the mask is terrible. You know, I don't think Halloween 18 is a dreadful movie. There's some people out there like Todd Fair who thinks it's a dreadful, awful movie. Listen, it's not a dreadful, awful movie. It's not. I think there's a few things they got right, but I think it largely is a film of missed opportunities. It felt more, I just think that there was some missed opportunities overall. But I think, I assume you're talking about Halloween, because if you're just talking in general, I mean, the first Elm Street's a fantastic slasher movie, you know. So, let me see here. Let me scroll down. Song fan says, Dave, I'm only familiar with Black Christmas 2006. Love it. Well, and that could be your age. I don't know how old you are. It could be your age. Black Christmas. I know a lot of people that like it. They do. It's a very different movie from the first movie. And again, that's also because of the era, partly. But the original Black Christmas it's slower moving than Halloween. It's very, it's not everybody's cup of tea. There are a lot of people that watch it and go, I can kind of see why that's not, and I get it. It's very old school, very, very, and it doesn't have the iconic Halloween score to help it along in some of the slow parts, right? But it is what it does well. It does very well, and it's very effective. But it's a very different movie. You could almost say it's a very different genre to a degree than the '06 film. I didn't like the '06 film because it just was night and day. Watching the '06 Black Christmas to me. Now, again, I can always find certain redeeming qualities. Can always find that. There are certain redeeming qualities I can find. Like, that's a good shot. I like that moment. But watching Black Christmas '06 was like watching Rob Zombie's Halloween. It was just like, this is like, there's certain things, but it's very different, a very different feel and vibe from the original. And I'm not saying that you're going to watch the original and like it. I mean, it's an acquired taste. It's a slow burn. It's not, there's no blood and gore. It's not very, fast moving. It's not, you don't see a lot of stuff. I mean, it's very Hitchcockian, so you just have to remember that. You have to remember that. Let me see what's going on here. Vanderhoff 66FU says, great Saturday show tonight. Thanks. No problem, Dave. Thank you, my man, Dave Vanderhoff. Zach Gaxiola says, since we're close to October, do you think we'll get anything regarding Halloween kills? If so, what do you think we could get? I'm personally hoping for a teaser poster at the very least. Well, this morning I was talking about that on my level 3 patron show, Thorazine, which is the Halloween show for my level 3 patrons. I'm hearing word from several of my sources that there is something coming, but they don't believe that it is a trailer. And I would tend to agree with that, even without them saying that, just knowing how I know about how the industry works. And I would, now again, anything's always possible, right? And because news and decisions change all the time. What I'm telling you could be true right now in this very moment, but come the middle of October, suddenly there's a change of something changes and something gets put, that doesn't generally happen because a lot of things are planned well in advance, of course. But sometimes that can happen. I'm hearing that something is coming, but that's not me saying that the trailer is coming or the poster is coming. I suspect, and this is going what I like. I would find it, even if they didn't tell me this, I would find it very strange if Halloween came and went and there was nothing. I would find that very strange, right? But something can mean this or it can mean this. But because we are a year out, it's not going to be the trailer. The trailer's done. I actually have firsthand knowledge of this. The trailer is done. I mean, that's probably pretty common sense. You know what I mean? But the trailer's done. It's locked and loaded and ready to go. But I don't believe that that's what it will be. I suspect that we will see more of, and again, I have no firsthand knowledge on this directly. There's some people that are connected that I know that have said something's coming. And I suspect that it will be in the form of another sizzle reel of some kind. That would be what I'm guessing and where I'm placing sort of my money at the moment. I think it'll be a little more than the sizzle reel we got last year. You may combine a scene in there with a sizzle reel. So you have like that 30-second scene that they showed a couple of months back. Let it burn, that thing. You may get that with, a sizzle reel attached in there or something. There's going to be something, I believe. And by all accounts, I think that's what I'm hearing. But if anybody is going to put, go to the fucking, the tables or head to Vegas and play the odds and say a trailer's coming, a trailer could come. Anything's possible, of course. But that's not what's going to happen. I feel the same way about this as I did when I said to you that the trailer and the poster are not coming during the live feed the watch party on Twitter. I said, it's not coming. I said that. And nothing came. And people were like, yeah, I don't get it. I was like, well, I told you nothing was coming. And again, it doesn't mean I'm right all the time. I'm not right all the time. I don't profess to have some sort of crystal ball, but I always do my best to come at this kind of thing from an informed opinion. So if somebody has reached out to me who I know, who's connected to certain, and has said, no, then I take that into consideration. And I take into consideration, and again, I don't pretend to know everything, but I think about the structure of the industry and how it works and where we are and the phases. And I sort of piece together a probability factor, you know, and I deliver that to you and I go, here's what I'm thinking, you know? And so this is what I'm thinking. Yes, I think something will drop. But I would be surprised if it was like the full length trailer. I'd be stunned, but you might get something. Like it's possible you might get a hybrid of something, you know, like it's not a 2.5 minute trailer, but it's not a 30-second spot. You know, it's like something in between. I just have this feeling there's something in between that might be happening. It's like this hybrid of something, is what I'm feeling, but we'll see. But I would be stunned if there's nothing. Halloween comes and goes and there's nothing. I'd be very surprised, because it's Halloween. You know, it's, if you're going to drop a little something at all between now and the next year, that's when you do it. Makes perfect sense. Let me see. Oh, yeah, more super chats coming in. You guys are wild. Your intel wild. Michael the Shape says, do you like Hellraiser? I like the first Hellraiser. Wasn't crazy on the others. I've only seen like 2 and 3, I think. Nick sends in a $5 super chat, says, Dave, you mentioned wanting to see more of Jack Black. I love Jack Black. Would you greenlight him playing the role of Benny Hill in an autobiographical account of his life? Let me just have a look at Benny Hill. I mean, I have an image of him in my head, but I just want to get a picture. Yeah, I could see him doing it. I mean, certainly the look. Yes, the look. I'd be down. I'd be open to that. I'd be open to that possibility. Yeah, sure. Andrew Stevens sends in a super chat and says, as D. Vinny would say, it's me, Billy, going to be fucking great. Fucking great. If you have a problem, fuck out of here. Andrew, my man, loving the D. Vinny stuff. That's funny, man. That's really funny. I love it. Darren Sands sends in a £5 super chat, says, talk to us about Halloween and Christmas for the channel. It's not long. Talk to us about Halloween and Christmas for the channel. It's not long now. I'm not sure what you mean. Darren, talk to us about. You mean just like I should? Oh, Darren follows up and says, Dave, more people are joining the stream. Keep going. I'd love to keep going. But I have things I need to do. I'd love to keep going. I've been on here for 2 hours though. Which is pretty good. I wanted to make, my shows are usually an hour and a half, but I wanted to make it up to you guys because I wasn't around yesterday, obviously. But definitely, I mean, I had to. I know what Benny Hill looks like, but I wanted to get an image of him on the screen so I could really kind of, see it. You know what I mean? In my head. No, I know who Benny Hill is. I know what he looks like. Let me see here. Drew Tyler sends in a super chat, says, a trailer an entire year before the release will make the Halloween Kills very outdated, played out for me, so I would not watch the trailer. Well, yes, that's true. That's one of the reasons why it wouldn't release. But we'll get something. I mean, like I said, a couple of sources that I know that are connected. And I mean people who are in the know, have said, yes, something's coming. But when I never poke too hard. I always just kind of say, okay, cool. But I got the sense that like, if they, let's just put it this way. If the trailer was coming, I don't think they would have said to me, something's coming. So take that for all it's worth, if it's worth anything. Gypsy Warrior says, Dave, are you worried about H kills leaking? Halloween kills leaking. Well, the only way it leaks are people who, well, yeah, I mean, sure. But, you know, I just don't go and read those things. So, but yeah, I mean, obviously, the longer you delay a movie, there is always that chance that things will get delayed and stuff will be out there. So there's always that chance. There's always that chance. All right, folks, listen, that is going to do it for me. Oh, hey, on Darren says here, what are your plans for Halloween and Christmas on the channel? Both are key. Ah, that's what you're asking. I get it, Darren. I get it. Okay, well, Halloween, we're still in the midst of trying to work this out. Halloween, of course, is on a Saturday this year. And Tony and I want to do a Halloween sort of special 2 dudes and some bullshit on Halloween night, which of course is a Saturday. And we thought that that would be fun to do and invite everybody in and see if we can get just a ton of people to watch. We think that would be a lot of fun. And is Christmas on a Saturday as well? I mean, obviously I won't be doing anything on Christmas Day, but leading up to Christmas, a little too out there yet to reach or to think about. But let's just put it this way. If we can actually shoot It's Me, Billy at the end of November, you will have a teaser trailer for It's Me, Billy this Christmas. Pending we get to actually shoot the movie at the end of November. And hopefully we can do that. So fingers are crossed. I love when people are keeping me around because they want me to stay. But I really do have to go, guys. So if I don't get to your super chats, I'll get to them next time. Quickly, the song fan says, H18 felt like a fan film starring Jamie Lee Curtis. I didn't really feel that way, but I see what you're saying. And William Long says, hey, Dave, real quick, what were your thoughts on the Batman trailer? Love the Fincher and Zodiac vibes coming from it. Same. I thought it was great. But I didn't lose my mind over it because it just it was great. It's exactly what I expected from Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson. Yep, total, bang on, exactly what I thought. If I didn't know that this was Matt Reeves, I would have thought that this was like a Batman, like in the Nolan. I know, but again, I'm not up on sort of the nitty gritty details of what it all involves, but it looked very dark and in the realm of like a Nolan Batman to me. I don't know if that's blasphemous for some people, but I think that's a good thing. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. We'll have to see how it all tracks out. I don't know. Yes, I gotta go. That's what it is. Folks, thank you for joining me on episode 104 of McRae Live. Thank you to my moderators, Darren Sands. Thank you so much, sir. Tabitha Short. Thank you very much, my lady. And thank you to, of course, Cecil, who was in here as well. He was, flexing his moderator muscles. Cecil, Jason Nike, Frank Riker, of course, Frank the Tank. Thank you so much for doing what you guys do. I really appreciate it. A reminder again, no 2 dudes and some bullshit this Monday night because I got meetings for It's Me, Billy. So unfortunately, we'll have to push that to the following Monday. So you'll be 2 dudes less for a little bit, but don't worry, we're coming back strong. Don't worry, we'll come back strong. And I will be back on Tuesday morning at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time for McRae Live. Folks, have a great rest of your weekend. You are amazing. Thank you to all the super chats, of course. If I didn't get to your non-super chat questions, don't fret. Just a lot of people in the room. Keep trying. I will get to you eventually. I love all you guys. All right. In the meantime and in between time, I will talk to you guys soon. Let me try that again. And I will talk to you guys soon. There we go. I got the timing right. Cheers.